clean up a few things that I just didn't have at my fingertips before. Number one, the charge that was null prost in August of 2022, after you told the prosecutor, hey, I gave the police information. Do you remember that?
The last time I went to court, yeah.
Okay. And you didn't remember if it was a felony or a misdemeanor?
Right.
If I showed you a copy of the charge and the dropping of the charge, would that help refresh your recollection?
If you say it's a felony, I believe you. But I'll read it too.
I'm going to show you
I'm sure.
a document. And this page talks about a controlled drug, possession subsequent charge, null prost, right?
Okay.
And that's August 9, 2022.
Okay.
And then let's look at the charge. And that was a possession of a controlled drug subsequent, right?
All right.
Does that sound right to you now?
Mhm.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Subsequent?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, this will answer your question. So do you recall that you were charged with a possession while you had a conviction of a misdemeanor possession on your record?
Oh, yes. I had a couple arrests before then, too, that I didn't go to.
Okay. And that charge was from September of 2019, right?
Yep.
Okay. Here. Now, we talked about the deposition that I took of you, and one of the things that you said back then, because you said on direct that you knew Adam for about 16 months, was it?
I mean, somewhere in there, it was long. It was like, you know, I know it was between two Christmases, because then there was that, he called me around Christmas asking if he could live at my house. So,
Well, when I was doing the deposition, we were talking about the conversation that you had had with Ish, and you told me about the conversation with Adam, that there was supposedly an RA, you believed there was an AR, like an AK, and Kimmy says, and then you say, this is like before I met Adam, that Kimmy said that he had stolen from him, right?
no,
Is that what you said at the deposition?
no.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question, and then I'll come to you with the deposition, okay?
Okay.
And you said, to be honest, you felt like probably traded, but you really didn't know the circumstances. But later on, after you had met Adam, Kimmy said to him, I have a camera.
You're
Yes. Objection is sustained.
So I'm going to approach you with a copy of your deposition. And you've seen it, the prosecutor gave it to you, but you haven't read it, right?
Yes.
And he gave it to you after he had prepared you for the testimony today, right?
Yes, after I viewed the DVD.
Okay. And this is deposition of Michael Sullivan, March 31, 2023. And I am going to direct your attention to page 33. And if you would read along that, I'm going to ask you a question to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay, in that deposition, you said you were about to talk about what Kim was saying about somebody stealing the things, and you said, this is like before I had met Adam.
Objection, Judge. This is mischaracterization of
Yeah, no, it's all right, I got it.
Overruled. Go ahead.
So,
Wait. So, you were talking before that about conversations that you had with Ish, right?
mm-hmm.
And then you are asked about other guns, right?
Okay.
And you said like there was like an AR, I believe it was an AR or a AK, and Kimmy says this is like,
Sustained.
I'm not getting into what she says, it's just this is the prelude to.
Counsel, approach. The objection is sustained.
So I think you said on direct that you knew Adam for a couple of weeks or so before the allegations about stolen guns, right?
I met Adam the night he came over with Manny. I believe that I had already talked to Kimmy prior to that.
Okay. Okay, so you talked to Kimmy prior to
About the
Manny-
car and all what happened that weekend, and then all this shit that went down. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
All the stuff that went down.
Isn't it true that you said at deposition when you said, talk about other guns, and you believe it was an AR, and this was like before I met Adam?
Because when we were talking about the night that me and Kimmy talked, I hadn't met Adam. Adam had gone over there, right? So when I did the car thing for her and for Manny and Ish, that's when they started coming over. Manny came over, and everybody was the same group. So I met Adam through Manny
Okay. And this was after the conversation about
with
the
Kimmy.
AI. Okay. And so, you also said that later on, after you had met Adam, and you talked about stuff like the camera conversation, right?
Everyone talked about it because he said it to everybody.
Okay. So, number 2. Now, on direct, you said that Adam had walked up, like taken the gun out of the trunk and walked up
Mm-hmm.
your porch. And
He reversed in.
Pardon?
Reversed in my driveway, opened the trunk, grabbed it, started walking up. We were standing on my porch. I don't know who was there. There was probably 15 people at my house like usual. And I said, whoa, what are you doing?
Okay, so,
And like we all laughed about it, and he put it in the back of his vehicle.
okay, and you said it was the AR-15.
I said it looked like an assault rifle.
Okay.
I can't tell you if it was, I don't know if they're, the name of the guns.
Sorry about that, I agree, you did say that, but you said that it looked like Exhibit 33, right?
I said it had a black stock and a black barrel.
So you don't know if it looked like Exhibit 33.
It had a black barrel and a black stock.
Okay, because you didn't see what was in the middle, right?
Correct. There was a sheet over it.
Huh?
Yeah, there was the sheet.
Okay. And when you spoke to the police in 2022, you talked about that same sort of thing happening in your driveway in the parking lot, and supposedly Adam selling a gun near your house,
Supposedly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you said it was a shotgun.
No. No.
You called making a description of him coming over with a gun wrapped into a sheet, and the interviewer said, so it was just the shotgun that day, right?
And what did I say after it?
That's what I'm saying. He brought it. He was the one selling. It was a big thing. I believe it was the second one that was in there, right?
I feel like all I know is the 25 minutes we keep going over, it's the same. There was an AR or a assault rifle that he had, walked up, there was a sheet over it. We went to the parking lot after the dude showed up. I mean, like, it's the same events. And just like the shotgun, like, I wouldn't feel right sitting here saying that I know for sure about the shotgun because I believe he came over to the house. That's why I didn't want to bring it up. I can't say, positive. But I do know that 100% positive that the driveway and the gun that supposedly got sold.
So the interviewer asked you, so we know like the shotgun was traded to this guy who's a drug dealer. How about the rifle? And you said, I don't know what happened to the rifle. Is that right?
I don't know, I guess. If that's what you're saying, I said in a deposition or a time I talked to someone.
Do you want to look at your interview with the police officers to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
show you a copy of the interview that you had identified before as 3/31/22.
Okay, is that with us?
No,
Okay.
remember 3/31/22
Oh, yeah, okay,
is
okay.
when the police had picked you up? Okay. And if you want to read through that, then I can ask you a question again, okay? Get it wherever you want.
Okay.
Okay. Do you tell
Can you
them,
show the video for that? Do we have the video?
are you thinking that this transcription,
No, like is this the video that I just watched in there?
no,
That's not the same interview?
no.
Okay.
This is from the police on 3/31/22.
Right, the last time when I got brought in on the fugitive justice, right?
Right,
Okay.
okay? And you told him that you didn't know about what happened with the rifle,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And you talked about looking at a video recently. In that video, you were talking about the missing Fran guns, right?
I guess I looked pretty bad in that video. Like I don't think that I looked I was pretty sick in that video.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. You were doing drugs. And they asked you, when they were talking about the guns, had you seen the guns? And you said, I held them, right?
I told you I thought I held the shotgun, but when I came in here, I wasn't sure of it, so I wasn't gonna say it. But when I look at that, it makes me feel like I was right.
Okay. So fair to say that, we'll leave it at that. Thank
Okay.
you.
I can have just a moment, Judge. So, Mr. Sullivan, you've said this, and it may have gotten a little confused on cross.
Mm-hmm.
The deal you're talking about with Kim and Ish, that's regarding the pistols, correct?
Yes.
Sustained.
The deal you were talking about with Kim and Ish, was that regarding the pistols?
Yes.
So there's pistols and there's long guns. Is there a
Yes.
difference between the two?
Yeah. Size. Sorry.
So you were asked a lot about your 2020 interview with law enforcement, and it sounded like you were saying you looked sick. Is that something that you...
I was in bad, like, bad way.
You just watched that video,
Yeah.
and you're saying you were in a bad way?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember being there for that video? interview that was taken?
Yeah, like, I don't, I mean, I honestly, I don't, like, I went to, I don't remember much. I went to jail and, like, hallucinated, you know, like, you know, it was a pretty bad time. So I don't remember much. You know, like I said, I can tell you, like, I can tell you the things that don't change that I know happened, and that's what I can tell you.
Let's talk about the things that don't change that you know happened. Did you see the defendant sell an assault rifle?
Right in front of me. I was sitting in the back seat. I wanted him to do it too. You know, I wanted him to do it too because I wanted to get drugs.
Did you see the defendant offer you the assault rifle for sale?
When he came up, that's what he was there for, and then he found out I didn't have any, and he was like, I'll help you, you know?
Did you tell your truth back in 2020 when you were interviewed?
I didn't, I've never read that interview. I didn't read the interview me and you did. You know, I just know what I know. And I'm sure that it should say it there, you know?
So in your 2020 interview, you were asked who got robbed. And let's back up. You were meeting about something totally unrelated, but it was a big...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this, like when we're talking about me not, you know, being able to have them drop my charges, it's because, not because of this, you know, it's because
So let me stop you there. The video that you just watched of making these statements about this robbery, that was only about 4 or 5 minutes
Yes,
of a 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour interview
felt like 5 hours.
about something unrelated.
Yes,
Okay, and in that interview, you were asked who was robbed. You describe a couple, Kim and Chris.
yes.
You were asked who robbed them, and you said, I think,
Sustained.
Your Honor, it's impeachment.
Overruled.
You were asked,
No, I'm sorry. The objection is sustained.
do you remember who you said robbed them?
Who robbed the Frames?
Kim and Chris.
Ish, Adam, and Manny.
In your interview, though, you said, I think Ish and Manny.
Overruled.
Sorry. In your interview, you said, I think Ish and Manny and Adam.
They gave,
Adam had the guns.
yeah, but they gave for the car and for the, you know, for the handguns and all that. They were giving her, like, they were feeding her drugs. Like, they would come back as she'd call for her car. They would come back in 10 hours as she called for 8 of it. They give her a very little amount of drugs so that they could keep her, like, keep stringing her along. So it's not like, is that trading? Or is that, like, you know, I don't think that's fair.
That trade for the drugs, though, is the pistol. Is
Yes,
that what we're talking
and
about?
the car.
Okay. And so in this conversation, you said, I think Ish and Manny and Adam had the guns. Is that what you said?
Yes,
On the video you just watched.
yes.
And then you were asked, you said, you were asked, did you see anyone with these guns? Do you remember what you said? Did you see anyone with these guns?
I know that I saw him walk up the driveway with it. I know that, you
Right.
know,
But
like,
in that interview, do you remember what your response was?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you remember saying, yeah, Adam?
I'm sure.
And when you said, yeah, Adam,
I don't remember that, but I'm sure that's what I said.
and when you said, yeah, Adam, in that 2020 interview, were you referring to Adam Montgomery, the defendant in this case?
Yes.
You were asked about a deposition you gave earlier
Okay.
this year. And so on cross-examination, you were asked about this comment that you'd made in your deposition about a conversation between the defendant and Kim being comical. Why was that conversation comical?
Because everyone knew Adam took the guns. And she was trying to, not just as she was trying to,
Hold on. The objection is overruled. Go ahead.
she was trying to get him to say it. everyone knew. He
Sustained.
okay. She was saying it so that she could see if she thought she was going to have a Matlock moment, and Adam was all of a sudden going to say that he did it. And then Adam, knowing that by her saying she had it, him not getting in trouble, he meant in the car, hey, I would be in jail right now. I know she's lying because I got it. He knew he had the gun, so that's why he knew he'd be in jail right now.
So that was my next question. Did Adam say in the car the police would be called if she had a video?
No, he literally was like,
Did he say, I would be in jail?
I would be in jail right now.
Sustained.
If she had a camera, I would be in jail right now. And then we went over to his house,
So-
and his wife sat there, and
we've
or his
talked
girl.
about that. My next question, though, I think you were asked on cross if this was a funny thing that was going on between Adam and Kim. In your words, would you say it was funny?
Like, at the time, it was like, not that we were like being mean to Kimmy, but everyone knew that what had happened. And even by Adam sitting there laughing, like, I feel like Kimmy knew for 100% sure too. And it was like, she was like, you know, she's hearing it from everybody tell her that he said.
Okay,
And so-
counsel, stop, approach. You may proceed.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sullivan, almost done. I just want to put what everyone else knew aside. What did you know when you were listening to that conversation?
I knew that Kimmy didn't have cameras either, because everyone,
Sorry, let me ask you this way. When you listened to that conversation, did you know that the defendant had stolen the guns?
yes,
Okay.
everyone did. Or, we all did.
But you knew.
Yes, I knew. And like,
So, that-
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Right there. Anything further, Attorney Smith?
So on your recent answers, you said that you knew, everybody knew about the guns. And actually, earlier in your testimony, you knew from Ish that he had stolen the .380 and at least another gun. Is that right?
the handguns.
So you're saying 2 handguns were stolen?
Adam had the assault rifle. I don't know if it was,
I'm asking about the conversation with Ish.
and her guns had gotten stolen.
So Ish had admitted to you to stealing the
No, he
380
didn't admit
and
that he
another
stole it.
gun.
He said
Sustained.
he didn't admit that she stole it. He said she was
Okay.
accused.
Hold
Okay,
on.
you're right. Traded
Yeah.
380 and another gun,
Yes.
and that's what you knew.
Yes.
2 guns-ish.
Right. Yep.
Thank you.
Turner made this one.
Yes, you may sit down. They,
Oh, I'm so sorry,
be
guys.
excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes? Ladies and gentlemen, it's earlier than we would normally take a mid-afternoon break, but for other reasons, we do need to take a break at this point. So I'm going to send you back into the deliberation room, and we'll call you back in here when we're ready. All right, thank you.
All rise for the jury.
Would you bring in? I'm going to address him first, so. Come on up, Mr. Bernatchez. Do you want him to take the witness stand, or do you want to just do this first? Let's talk about the questions.
We might want to just talk about the questions
Okay,
first.
so, good afternoon, Mr. Bernatchez. What I'm gonna have you do is just, in fact, you can just sit right there at the table behind the prosecutors. Because I want you to understand what the questions are gonna be. Then we have to. Well, so we first have to decide whether or not you need a lawyer, and I want you to hear what the questions are. The parties have agreed to tell you what the questions are, so that we can make a reasonable determination as to whether or not we can proceed with you today. And if not, then we'll assign you a lawyer and we'll take the next steps that we would normally take for somebody who was going to invoke the Fifth Amendment, okay? So just sit down and listen carefully to what the state intends to ask you about, okay? So, Attorney Ugadi, go ahead.
Do that, Your Honors.
Thank you.
9 questions that we intend to ask Mr. Bermatches would be as following after being sworn in. How old he is, what city does he live in, how long has he lived there, whether he wants to be here right now. Does he know someone named Adam Montgomery? At one point in 2021, was he living at the same address with him? Did Adam Montgomery tell him that he sold a gun to a person named Ish? Did officers ask you if they could show you some photos to identify Ish? And you stated no. And saying to the officer specifically no because you are not a snitch. Those are the 9 questions.
Okay.
So essentially, where the city that Mr. Bermatches lives in now, we're not asking for his home address. Whether or not he wants to be here right now. Does he know someone named Adam Montgomery? Whether he was residing with him at one point in 2021, not where they were residing or how they came to be residing with each other. Whether the defendant, whether Adam Montgomery told him that he had sold a gun to a person named Ish. Whether officers asked if they could show some photos to identify this person named Ish, and whether he told those officers no, because he is not a snitch. Those are the 9 questions. And based upon those 9, not asking where Mr. Bermatches lives now, not asking where he was residing in 2021, we do not feel that the answers to those 9 questions would somehow trigger a Fifth Amendment right.
Okay, so you've heard those questions. Do you have any objection to answering those questions?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer any questions.
So let's see what the questions would be from the defense.
They would be that he hung out at Somerville Street with Mike, his wife, and several other people. He did drugs at Summer Street with Mike and other people that had hung out there. I will be asking him a question that I don't know the answer to, because in his report he had indicated that he was messing around with Kim Frayne, and I'm not sure if he was saying that Mike was or that he was having a relationship with her. And if it was Mike, then the time period that that was going on. That I would be asking if he had gone to Kim's house to get high on crack with her, which I believe he will say yes to, because I believe it was him saying that he was messing around with Kim. I will ask if they were buying and selling drugs together, he and Kim. I will ask if he had heard a rumor about her, Kim Fran's husband, getting guns stolen or robbed. And he said that he'd heard the rumor, but he couldn't confirm that it was Adam. And that I will talk about some of the things that the police were saying to him, and that he eventually said that at first he had never seen Adam with a shotgun, and Adam had never given him guns, and that all he had was a claim that Adam said he was selling guns, and that this occurred while Todd was in jail. And there's a few related to that kind of questioning. Oh,
All right.
and sorry, there was more to follow up on Ish. That he knew Ish, he said he knew Ish, his description of Ish, and that is Ish someone that he also hung out with at Mike's house.
All right, counsel approach. So, you're here today, that's because you understand that you're under subpoena and you have an obligation to be here, and that is important. I think you know that a failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued, and so you are here. I understand your concerns. Whether you have a privilege to assert is another question. You can't just assert in order to choose not to say anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to appoint you a lawyer, okay, so that you'll be able to consult with counsel. I'm going to have you come back on Monday. Why don't we have you come back at 12:30? So I do need to have a current, we're going to need some current contact information for Mr. Bernatchez. Okay, so I'm going to, so this, either the state victim witness advocate or somebody will work with the court to get some contact information for a lawyer. As soon as you get that information, you should make every effort to contact that lawyer so that you can speak to them in advance of Monday's hearing. We'll have you come back Monday at 12:15. I don't know exactly when the testimony will break. It may be ongoing, and you may need to be here for a little while. Once you contact your lawyer may want you to get here earlier so you can consult with the lawyer. But then on a lunch break with the jury, we'll have some further conversation about what has to happen with regard to your testimony, okay?
Your Honor, we do have Mr. Bernatchez's phone number. If we could just confirm what his address is.
315 Cedar Street.
Okay. And Mr. Bernatchez, do you have a lawyer you've been working with for any of your own?
Jay Brisaw.
What?
John J. Brisaw.
Attorney Brisaw? Okay, I don't know if that would be who would be appointed to you, but I can let them know downstairs that that's somebody that you've worked with. You can also call Attorney Brisaw if you wish to do so to let him know. And we will, we'll get you counsel, and I'll see you again on Monday, okay? All right, very good. All right, so what do we have with regard to the next witness?
Your Honor, I think at this point, it'd probably be wise for us to go ahead and discuss that matter regarding Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay.
Because ideally, he would be the next witness after this, and it just kind of makes sense to go right from Ms. Hilbert as witness directly to Mr. Zimmerman.
Very good, so let me do this. You shared with the court earlier the response to the question regarding the nexus of his statements and the 77 Guilford Street address. I presume that what you were reading from was provided to the defense.
It was, Your Honor. I received it by email last night. Defense counsel received it by email last night. I believe Attorney Mills had received it just prior to the two of us.
Okay, so rather than have you read that again, I don't think that's necessary. Mr. Montgomery wasn't in the room at the time, but you've shared that with him, Attorney Smith?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe it makes sense for me just to hear your response rather than have them go over what's in there.
And rather than go over everything that we said before
Yes.
about the different conversations, I do want to make it abundantly clear that Josh's first statement, first of all, that Josh and Tara had several conversations with Adam Montgomery, but that Josh said he didn't really start communicating with Adam Montgomery until 6 months after Adam Montgomery had moved into Union Avenue, and that about a year later, which I said was not clear if it was a year after moving into Union or a year after they started talking, that Adam was getting paranoid and talking about the ATF.
So, I'm sorry, was it a year after he moved in or a year after the 6-month communication?
I cannot
Oh,
tell
you don't know.
from the
Okay.
report that was provided to us that these were.
Okay,
And that that was the circumstance for Adam talking specifically about an AK-47 firearm. Josh said he never saw any firearms and that Adam never tried to sell him firearms. So that was essentially when he said that Adam, and essentially what they're trying to get from Mr. Zimmerman is that Adam bragged about selling firearms. And then it was specifically to the AK-47. So then the question was, when Tara Hebert said that Adam had talked about an AR-15 being the sickest gun he ever had, was that conversation that Tara was talking about the same as the conversation with Josh? And it was A, and B, did Josh actually hear that? So in Tara Hebert's interview, she said that
Is it Hebert or Hilbert?
I'm doing that, I'm sorry.
Hilbert, okay, okay.
Said that on several occasions between February 2020 and summer of 2020, Adam bragged about selling guns at his house. So first of all, that's a time period before Josh had started talking to Adam. I think I said that Adam moved into Union in March, and Adam said it was really, Josh said it was really about 6 months before he started really talking with Adam, and again, that year problem, but even at the shortest part, a year later is when Adam was talking about the guns. So their time period is different. She did not say that it was when he was at 77 Guilford. She said that she believed that to be after seeing a press release. And Josh's specific reference to that on this newest interview is that his understanding was it was something Adam had done in his past when living on Guilford Street. He's unsure if Adam sold guns while living on 644 Union Street. His understanding about that is not the same as Adam said that while living at 77 Guilford Street, So I still do not think that they've made the connection to the conversation that Josh purportedly had with Mr. Montgomery, starting perhaps earliest a year after moving into Union Street while he was paranoid about the FBI and let's see, because it sounds like the paranoia about the FBI was what led to him, and that was something that was going on at Union Street, that had, although it may have had something to do with the past, had anything to do with 77 Guilford Street, the particular conversation that Josh is referencing. And says, was it read in the record this morning?
It was.
Here,
I believe it was this morning, the statement regarding Josh Zimmerman's statement. I think we were on record when we were doing that, yes. Okay, just making sure.
Oh, yeah.
If not, I have a copy.
Okay, I would like to see a copy, actually, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Your Honor would like, also, Attorney Smith has referred to the two Zwicker letters that were provided for both of these individuals from the release. I have copies of those as well, if you'd like.
Okay, one moment, please. So I just want to better understand something. According to this, Attorney Smith, Zimmerman stated the conversation he and Tara had with Adam happened a few months into Adam and Kayla living on Union Street. So I'm not sure. Give me 1 second. So I'm trying to better understand why you think it was a year after he moved into Union Street.
These are, what you're reading is like the third follow-up with
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
So where does it
His
co-
original statement was, that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
He originally talked about the statement at, sorry.
That's okay, I'm just gonna take a look, when his original statement,
What page are you providing?
Sorry.
sorry, that was just me holding out my hand, so, it's 507? Right.
Thank you.
That's what I'm looking at, right?
509.
509.
Oh,
The
that's-
507
oh,
is a
okay.
different sort of marking.
Okay, that's, all right.
And it
I'll be
is a-
looking at the second
Yeah.
paragraph, second line, 6 months.
And then after that, a year before they started talking.
Okay, so, I think, as I said yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, that I do think, to the extent that there is a connection with the Guilford Street address and/or the conversation that Tara Hilbert also had with the defendant, and the state can lay a foundation for that, which I think they have here, obviously, subject to cross-examination of any prior inconsistent statements, that it is admissible. However, there's a lot of other information here that I don't think is necessarily admissible. So, the original,
There are many other things within the report talking about their interactions with individuals that they'd seen and other conversations. I would agree with you, that's not something the state's seeking to elicit at all.
okay, so, but I want to be clear about that what we're avoiding here is this, all of this propensity evidence that, if the state is looking to just get into this notion that he was and repeatedly engaged in, lots of firearm sales and the AK-47, and if there's an issue with the confusion that you want to ask him about an assault rifle, I think that's permissible, even though he called it something different, and certainly appropriate for cross-examination or for direct examination. But I am cautioning the state, you need to lay the foundation that's set forth in these documents before you ask him about the content of the conversation. And to the extent you think that the state hasn't laid a foundation consistent with my rulings here, Attorney Smith, that will be subject to contemporaneous objection. But if they do lay the foundation as we've discussed, then I do think it is admissible, despite the fact that there may be some inconsistencies here. It sounds that he's connecting it to the Guilford Street address, he's connecting it to the conversations that were also had with Tara Hilbert, and there are some other specifics here, but absent, if they can't do that when he gets on the stand, I'll hear an objection, okay?
I would like to offer to you, or I understand your ruling, but to put on the record that I will not be crossing Mr. Zimmerman about the distinction between, about the FBI, about other statements. The most that I can, because obviously it raises that specter anyway. My position is it has taken them 3 chances at the apple to get to the information that they want to get. 2 of those opportunities were after we filed the motion so that they knew my objection to what they were saying. On that second one, they still didn't get the information that they wanted. And then the third one was just recently after talking to you and you making very clear what they wanted. And quite frankly, I think the connection that they made is still very iffy. And I would say that this statement is so unreliable that the prejudice in admitting it, the prejudice between my inability to cross, because to cross I have to go into territory that should not be a part of this trial. And I know that I'm making that choice, but I am making that choice because the prejudice of this, to make that, the fact that that connection does not exist, the prejudice outweighs any probative value to this, especially since Ms. Hebert will be saying something along those lines as well. And that my inability to cross without opening up inadmissible evidence, I think the prejudice outweighs any probative value and that it should not be brought in. I would also put on the record, and you said the other stuff that's there would include the FBI, the paranoia, all of that other character reference to something that is not involved in 77 Guilford Street.
Okay, so I think you raised an important point, which is how narrowly we're going to view these other things. Because I do think that at some point you do veer into an area that is too prejudicial. So this notion that, you know, he was afraid of the ATF, that they were after him because he was selling guns, this sort of broader picture that I'm sure the state, you know, would like to paint, I think that's too broad a picture. I mean, that he had a conversation with him about having sold guns at 77 Guilford Street, I think is admissible. But I think going beyond that, going beyond that is going to veer into territory for which there isn't necessarily clear proof, and it just may be too prejudicial, not sufficiently probative of these offenses. So,
And Your Honor, I think the state certainly understands what your feelings are with regards to that on this particular matter of this case. I can't say necessarily that the state agrees with regards to the paranoia aspect of what the defendant has said. At that point, that could be used as an easy defense by the defendant for any of the particular gun crimes, or have to say that there has to be clear proof between one of his multiple gun crimes that he is accused of to be correlated to his paranoia. I think it's a reasonable inference to say that this particular charge that this jury is asking to consider, given the other statements about an AR-15 and a rifle here at Guilford Street, provides that nexus to be able to get into it, but I understand the court's ruling on that. One of the things I want to make also very clear for the record, and if Your Honor would like a copy again, I do have a copy of those 2 sworn letters. I feel it's a mischaracterization a moment ago to state that everything that's coming in with regards to Mr. Zimmerman only is coming in this very last interview. The vast majority of what he has said, even back to the last week we went before, was that the defendant had discussed having guns before at his last home and hiding in the walls. That last home would have been 77 Guilford Street. Your Honor asked us to clarify specifically which street it is, and we have done that. The implication that was just made, that this is brand new information, that somehow that makes it so prejudicial that there could be no sort of cross-examination, is inaccurate compared to the information that's provided and the timing of that information. So the state certainly understands the restrictions that the court wants us to follow. With regards to that, I will ask for maybe just 5 or 10 minutes to tailor my questions to be able to follow that. along with the guidelines that the court has provided. But to say that no cross-examination is possible on those areas, I just think really mischaracterizes the evidence in the discovery.
So, and if you'd like to mark for identification, just for the record, those prior statements, I think that's fine. The court has reviewed, in coming to my prior ruling, I have what you had previously given me. I'm sorry, Attorney Smith, I took your copies of these so that I could take a look. But I think, so I'm just giving those back to you.
Did you want me to make a copy for the record?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Attorney Agati is going to mark them for the record, and we can do that after if we want to. But I think it is admissible, the information related to these firearms at the Guilford Street address, his concern about ATF, but I don't, we are not going to be talking about this as if, about whether or not he's an overall gun dealer of all sorts of other firearms. We're not doing that, okay. So narrowly tailored questions, laying the foundation, connecting it to this case.
Agreed, Your Honor.
And the state said they were putting together a package which included a couple of Zwicker letters. I would object to the May 31st, 2023 Zwicker letter because it's referencing the actual interview, the report of which I think should be introduced, not the Zwicker letter regarding the report.
This is just for,
Just for the court.
they're just for identification, not to be used for the jury. It's just for the issue of appeal.
Right, but I think the Zwicker letter represents something slightly different from the actual report, so the Zwicker letter on May 31 is really irrelevant because it's referencing the report.
But I'm not going to preclude the state from marking something for identification.
And I'll be happy to take the one from the 31st as well. I was actually intending to do this with a letter from May 28th, it was prior to that.
You said two, so that's what I was on.
Well, I also had Ms. Hilbert's Zwicker letter.
And, all right, I haven't, so, I mean, I think you all have made the arguments with regard to the content of those for the purposes of the court's decision on this issue. And if there's something else you think I need to know from those, you can let me know, but that,
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay.
Like I said, just, we'll want a couple of minutes to
Okay.
do some quick editing. So to speak.
right now. Why don't I have, go off the record so the monitor can take a quick break now, and then once you're ready, we'll launch right into it, okay? Very good. We'll just wait till you take a break.
Okay. Yeah.
And as soon as we're ready, we'll come back, yes?
Yeah.